More than 1 in 10 children in the UK are disabled, yet accessible spaces to play are very hard to find. How can we change the status quo? Hi, I'm Sarah LaBrecque, and this is the Purpose Pioneers from Positive News. In this podcast, I meet the leaders of some of the UK's most inspiring organizations to uncover how they're turning their ideals into action. In each episode, we'll explore 3 defining moments that reveal their journey of putting purpose into practice. The Purpose Pioneers is supported by Triodos Bank. So today, I have Steph Wheen joining me. Welcome to the podcast, Steph.
Thank you, Sarah. Lovely to be here.
So Steph is the founder and CEO of Gympanzees, which is a charity that creates inclusive spaces for play and therapy for disabled children and their families. Steph, you're a children's physiotherapist by trade, which is quite niche, I would say. Is that something that you knew you always wanted to do?
Yeah, I've got a disabled brother and he had physio when he was younger and it just looked like great fun. Just basically playing with kids in a mindful therapeutic way. And so, yeah, it was always in my mind that that's what I wanted to do.
So you set up Gympanzees and you're building the first centre in the UK for children with physical and intellectual disabilities to go to. So what led to that? Can you tell me what this centre is going to entail and how children and their families will use it?
So it all started as a physio. I was fully booked really quickly and trying to find ways. I had calls from desperate parents wanting therapy that I couldn't give them. I couldn't fit them in. So I thought if I can get my children out into the community to do exercise, they wouldn't have to come to me so often and then I could see more children, which seemed really straightforward. So started taking them to things like gyms and soft plays and climbing walls and nothing worked. And it was for loads of different reasons, for access, for staff, the toileting wasn't right, the equipment was the wrong size for them. And it just felt completely mad. Like these children who need exercise more than anyone else just to develop, and they couldn't access it. So I started researching it more. It turns out it wasn't just children with physical disabilities who were my clients. It was children with autism, with ADHD, with all kinds of other disabilities who couldn't access exercise and they couldn't access play or places just that they could go, that they could meet others and have fun.
When you were going out in the community and you were trying to get these children more active by going to sort of more conventional soft play centres and so on, and not finding that they were adequate, were you raising this with the organisers of those centres?
No, well, things like the gym, I phoned up about 15 gyms and said, I've got an 11-year-old. He had a bit of attitude. He didn't really want to do therapy, but he'd had multi-level surgeries. So hips, knees and ankles, bones and muscles and tendons all operated on to straighten him out. And he just needs to get stronger. But therapy, when you've been doing therapy since you were, 2 years old, it's hard and it's boring. And he just wanted to be with older boys. And, a gym would have been perfect. And so I was phoning up all these gyms saying, can I bring my client? And they were saying, well, no, he's 11, that's too young. But also we're not wheelchair accessible or we won't have equipment for them. So the one I actually did take him to said, yeah, we have 11 plus. We couldn't get him on any of the equipment. And I think it was just, that the equipment was the equipment. It was, and he was too small to fit on it. So that there wasn't really, I couldn't ask the gym to change completely what they were doing. And the same with the climbing wall. It's, I had a child with very tight legs and she just couldn't reach all the climbing pieces. They were too far apart for her. So it's such a massive ask to change things to suit the needs of all children.
Yeah, because I would imagine that there's a lot of variation in the needs of disabled children. They're all quite different.
Massively. Absolutely massively. You get, the 2 different kind of two different types of disability. You've got your children who are mobile, who are probably really mobile. So your children with autism or ADHD who are or can be completely bouncing off the walls, so energetic and really physically brilliant. They can be some of the most physical people who need really challenging bits of equipment to kind of meet their sensory needs, meet their physical needs, through to some of our children who can't really do any of their own movement for themselves. And so you've got all of these needs, and how do you meet all of those needs? And it's not really surprising that regular mainstream places can't meet those needs because they're so different.
And so now you're opening up a centre that you hope will meet a variety of needs. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the centre we're building it will be, as far as we can see, the first of its kind, definitely in the UK, but we haven't seen anything like this anywhere in the world. But it's being built for our families, for our children first. And because it is inclusive for children with all these needs, it will also be inclusive for other children, for every child. It's just a different way of doing it.
Ah, okay. So children who don't have disabilities are invited to come as well?
100%. Yeah. So we have siblings are always invited, or friends. If a disabled child wants to come for their birthday with 10 of their non-disabled friends, then they can all come together. But we'll also have sessions specifically for everyone. Just because you're disabled doesn't mean you only want to be with disabled people.
Right.
So yeah, everyone, it will be properly inclusive for absolutely everyone.
And it's going to be in Bristol?
Yeah, just outside Bristol. We've bought an epic 14-acre site with a 43,000 square foot building and 500 parking spaces and 9 acres of green space with a woodland. It's an incredible site. So when we open, it is going to be, world class.
That sounds so incredibly exciting and so needed as well. So what is the extent of the need? It sounds like it's really big.
It's huge. So there's, within an hour of our site, and this will be the same anywhere in the UK, there's 90,000 children, young people with disabilities from 0 to 25 years old. And of those, 3/4 of them can't access mainstream leisure. So this is impacting health, well-being, but also the whole family. So the whole families are being isolated, or the mum will go somewhere with one sibling and the dad will have to stay at home with the disabled sibling, or vice versa. And so it's impacting really the whole family. So it's an enormous need.
When is the centre going to be opened?
So next summer. So we are on time and on budget. We are building 10 different kind of exercise play activity rooms. So things like a gym with 30 bits of really high-tech, incredible equipment, or a soft play that we can get our most disabled children to the top of the soft play so that they can go down the slide, for example. It could be the first time they've been down a slide. Or we've got a climbing wall where we can get our children with really complex needs on a hoist so they can climb even if they can't weight bear. Trampolines in the floor. I mean, we've got an absolute ton of stuff that different children can access.
I can't imagine what it must feel like to go down a slide for the first time as a child, and you just do it safely,
Yeah, exactly.
The Purpose Pioneers is supported by Triodos Bank, which I happen to be a customer of. If you're new to them, they're definitely pioneers themselves, with some impressive accolades to their name. They were voted Best Ethical Financial Provider at the British Bank Awards for 4 years running, and have achieved Which Eco Provider status for 3 years in a row. Basically, this means that they're top of the charts when it comes to sustainability, which is great news, as it means I know my money is funding projects and causes that I care about. Visit triodos.co.uk to find out more about the power of moving your money. So in the Purpose Pioneers, we ask everyone to share 3 key moments that are centered around discovering their sense of purpose and putting it into practice. So, Steph, was there a particular moment or a thing, a person, maybe something you were observing in your practice that kind of felt like a tipping point for you?
I think it was discovering a piece of equipment called an inner walk, which I went to a kind of a show on different equipment, disability equipment. And this is it's a cross-trainer, but for our children with the most complex physical needs. So we can get absolutely any child hoisted into it, so lifted into it in a sitting position. The children are strapped in, and then it gets them into standing, and then it gets their legs walking, and it gets their arms moving. And it was an incredible piece of equipment, and I got in it to see what it felt like. And because it's passive, it's doing the work for you. So I was thinking, well, is it going to really help? But I was aching the next day. So then I decided, okay, well, I'm going to try this with my families, and had 11 families who tried it out. And there were just tears of joy from the parents, but also the children who were feeling the sensation of walking for the first time, which just felt amazing. And we had one of our young people who was able to explain that he just felt better than he'd ever felt before. But this piece of kit is really expensive. And we're talking £20,000-30,000. And 6 of my young people, children, clients ended up fundraising so they could get one because they saw the ridiculous benefits this would give for the rest of their lives. But that is just not accessible for most people. And it felt like this piece of kit is allowing some children to take their first deep breath. And so we only use the top 10% of our lungs if you're sitting down, if you're not active, and the bottom of your lungs gets filled up with gunk, and you have to cough to clear that gunk, and that's how you keep your chest healthy. Now, if you're not taking deep breaths, there's nothing to help you cough. And so you're getting all these infections and things which can be life-limiting for some of these children, but it definitely is not good for their lungs if they're not able to cough and take deep breaths. And this piece of kit can get them coughing, going red for the first time. We have children doing 6 kilometers who have never been able to take a step. It's an incredible piece of kit, and yet children can't access it. It's not in the NHS, it's in very few schools, and it's stupidly expensive for someone to have in their own home unless they can fundraise and have, that kind of ability, which most people can't. So I was trying to think, how can I get this into my clinic so that my clients could use it? And I couldn't afford that. So it's like, okay, well, maybe I need to build something so that we can have this piece of equipment. And it kind of all started there.
So that sort of begs the question, how are you funding everything? So I guess you have families who sort of pay a fee, who come to use the service, but have you been able to get grants or help from the council, or how has that side of things worked?
So we bought the site for 3.1 million. We got a loan from lovely Triodos Bank.
So that's chunky. How did that come about?
So it's actually a 2.2 million loan. So the building cost us 3.1, and the rest of it was through major donors, through some really generous individuals and trusts. We had started talking to them quite a few years before, when we were thinking of renting out a warehouse and just wondering where we were going to get the money to fit it out. And they are an ethical bank, so they take impact is just as important as profit for them. And so they aligned really well with us. And when we suddenly came across this site, it was a really quick turnaround. And we went to several high street banks and Triodos, and all the others wouldn't even look at us. Whereas Triodos, because they have such a focus on impact, really could see what we were doing. But we'd been building our business plan for years. I think it'd been 6 years in the making at this point. And we'd proven so many of our assumptions with the pop-ups. That was partly why we've been doing them. So actually we had a really robust business plan, which is what they wanted to see. And they were so supportive in the whole process. I don't know generally if banks are like that, but they were amazingly helpful. Obviously, this is the first time we'd done anything. We were going from being a very, very small charity to getting this, as you say, sizable chunk. So it was not painless, but they were amazing. And yeah, they asked us to do so many different things to kind of prove where we were going and what happens if this happens and what scenarios, etc.
That must have been a useful exercise for you to do.
Hugely, because it's the same thing as you'll be asked from, the lottery, and all of these big grant givers are basically it's a little bit like a bank, in that they need to make sure that you're not going to waste their money. So having done that process was, really useful for us. And then we launched an 8 million capital appeal in September 2023. and we are about 83% of the way through that currently. And it looks like we're going to be able to fundraise it so that we can open next summer. Fingers crossed.
So everything's on track. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a way to go, but so far so good. And people have been so generous. Individuals, companies, grant givers. It's been a massive effort from so many people.
It was really interesting when you were describing the need for children with complex needs or disabilities to use their lungs and to move in physical ways. That's even more important than people who don't have disabilities. So do you think there's not enough kind of awareness about this, which sort of translates into this lack of provision for children like this?
100%. These families are often really busy. You're having to looking after children is challenging. And if you have the additional challenges put on you of a school system that's really tricky and having to care for their medical needs and health needs, or whatever kind of sensory needs they have. And so it's very difficult to shout as loudly as really not they should, but as should happen. Like it's kind of it's an unknown really about how these extra challenges can impact the children's lives and the lives of the family. But like it's down to things like if it's about 80% of our children who are full-time wheelchair users will experience chronic pain, and the average age that starts is 21 years old. And the only thing you can really do about that is get stronger. So most of this pain is coming from basically arthritis. So when the joints are rubbing against each other, they're kind of causing wear and tear. And because the joints aren't completely straight, this wear and tear happens earlier. So if you can strengthen the muscles around the joints, it actually pulls the joints apart. So when you're moving, the joints aren't rubbing against each other. And that means that you're not getting that wear and tear. So just getting that exercise can prevent this horrible pain that happens. So they have to exercise, but it's so difficult for a lot of these children to exercise out and about. And, most places, gyms and stuff are starting to get on board. They generally have 1 or 2 bits of kit. But if you can't fit in that bit of kit, or if you can't hold on with your hands, or if your legs are different lengths or whatever, then it doesn't work for you. And so, it's double impact.
Do you find that it's incredible that someone hasn't done this before you?
Yeah. It's madness. I mean, saying that, it's now been 9 years of blood, sweat and tears to get here. So when I started, I was like, I don't understand. Why has no one done it? But they may not have done it because it is a massive challenge. Right. And it's been all consuming for me and a load of other people. The team is absolutely incredible.
How big is your team?
So there's 15 of us, and then we've got about 40 people on committees. So there's always been, how we've got where we've got is by asking people who know more than us. So we are disability experts, and we have the passion and the drive, but we aren't, builders, and we aren't lawyers, and we aren't property people, etc. So we've got external advisors to help us, and people have just been drawn to the cause, I think. So we have got some just exceptional people on board who have helped us along.
So inspiring. You're working with families who I imagine are exhausted.
Can be.
Yeah, can be. And they must be really relieved. There must be some emotion there, to come to be able to use, because I think you were doing pop-ups because the centre's not actually open yet, right? So families coming to your pop-ups, they must be really relieved and be holding, some emotion.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah, how do you deal with that emotion? Do you feel it a lot?
I think I've spent, 15 years as a physio talking to parents and understanding their journey. But actually the pop-ups, which were our proof of concept, we had to prove what we were doing before we were going to get all these millions. It's the emotions generally just happy. People are just happy to be there. So it's just an amazing place to work. Like a day at the pop-ups, everyone comes away from it just filled with joy, I suppose. The staff love it. The families love it. Like the children are having an amazing time. I think, we're really privileged. We just get to see the good stuff because they're getting what they need, what they should have in other places.
And those pop-ups, so they were just happening kind of in the school holidays?
Yeah. So Easter and summer holidays, we'd rent out a special school and empty it of all its kind of schoolness and bring in 3-ton truckloads of equipment and set up the same rooms that we're going to have in the centre. So trampoline, soft play, sensory rooms, gym, etc. And then families just book themselves on like they would do in any other mainstream place. So we're not providing therapy, we're not providing respite. We are the equivalent of every other mainstream place, these trampoline parks or soft plays where you just book on and you come and you have a great time as a family. So people have been booking, I think we've had about 28,000 people booking on over the 9 pop-ups that we've had. We've had people travelling from around the country doing an 8-hour round trip for the hour-and-a-half session. We've had families staying for their whole Easter holiday so they could come to us every day. It's been amazing, and our kind of feedback from our families has been brilliant. We've been constantly wanting feedback because we want to learn, we want to be the best we possibly can. So we're always asking, what can we do better and how can we improve your experience, etc. And so they've been really instrumental in our design, really, and how we're doing what we're doing.
It sounds as well like it would be pretty exhausting to erect these pop-ups and then have to take them down.
Yeah, we call it pop-up crazy. So it takes 2.5 days and about 20 volunteers to set it up. And it takes about 1.5 days and 20 volunteers to take it down. So when we say pop up, it's kind of dragged up. It's not really popping up.
Yeah, it's not like a tent.
No.
With few things in it, no. Okay, so Steph, we're on to your second moment.
Yeah.
So this time I'd like to ask you about an unexpected kind of joyful moment, but it sounds like there's a lot of moments of joy, but maybe something that sticks in your mind where you felt that your work was really worth it, really having an impact. What stands out for you?
I mean, as you say, so many, but actually one of my physio clients called Max, it's a little 3-year-old, gorgeous little 3-year-old boys with very complex needs. And he breathed through a hole through his neck. And he had tried to go to an inclusive session at a trampoline park. And his mum knew that he loved rough and tumble, and he used to love being chucked in the air when he was a baby and things like that. So she knew he would love it, and he was small enough. She knew she could carry him onto the trampoline. She knew she could change him in the car before he went. So there was no reason why this wasn't going to work when so many of the other things that she tried hadn't worked. So she was really excited. They turned up, she got him on the trampoline, just about to start bouncing. And I was saying about the gunk in your chest, for children who can't cough, they have to have it sucked out. So a kind of a tube is put down, it's sucked out. She does this every 15 minutes or whatever. It's just life. And so she got out the machine and started suctioning him, and the noise of the machine was the wrong frequency for the children who had sensory sensitivities. And so she was asked to leave. So she'd told me this, and I was, this was really gutting. And then she came to the pop-ups for the first time, and she got on our trampolines, and she was being bounced. So she was holding on to Max while a member of staff was bouncing the two of them, and they were getting air. It was absolutely amazing. And he started giggling for the first time out loud, which was, the whole team was completely blubbing. Mum was as well. It was absolutely incredible. Not just that was happening, but that she'd struggled to be able to get that anywhere else, and had just come to us, and it had been so easy for her to get it.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
I can imagine. I'm feeling it now. I've been thinking about it.
Yeah,
just like to hear your child laugh for the first time is like it's not something you can describe, really.
No, amazing.
So, what would you say has been the hardest part of your journey so far in creating Gympanzees and getting it off the ground?
There's been a lot. I mean, it's been a lot of work. I think one of it is that it's just taken so long. So when I first started, I spoke to an architect who said, this is going to take 5 years. And I decided I didn't want to work with him because I thought that wasn't ambitious enough. I wanted to open in 2.5 years. Like, these families have been waiting for so long, and it is so needed, and it will make such an impact. And yet it will have been 10 years by the time it opens. So when we finish each pop-up, we have parents saying, we have to wait until next summer, or the worst is at the end of the summer and they have to wait all the way for Easter. And some families don't leave the house apart from to come to us or go to school. That's the only time they leave their house. So, that when they're like, come on, why is it taking so long? And, it took us a long time to find a place. It took us a long time to find a location. And then, it's a 3-year fundraise. It's just, everything takes so much longer than you think, which is really frustrating.
Yes. You must have a very strong sense of determination. And I mean, I suppose you have so many children and families who know about it and who are anticipating it, that you're doing it. There's no giving up.
No, there never has been. And it's funny now, because we're doing really well with our fundraising. We're having people going, oh, we doubted you'd get there. It's like, did you? You never told me this. We've never had any doubt. We've always known it was going to happen. But a lot of people apparently have been doubting that it would, because it's fairly ambitious, I think. But no, I think once you're in it, it's the same with the whole team. There's not a single moment of doubt from anyone that it's going to happen, because it just makes so much sense.
So one of the things we're keen to share with our audience in this podcast is inspiration. So how anyone, not just an entrepreneur, but anyone really, can turn a strong purpose-led idea into action. So do you have any advice on how you kind of make that leap?
Well, that's the thing, is I don't think it's the leap. I think it is that thing, how do you eat an elephant? You literally take the one step. So, for example, my first day when I thought I want to do this, I was like, I wonder what gym equipment could be out there, and just research that. And then was like, I wonder, what size would fit that. It was such tiny incremental things. And it's doing that every day that gets you there. That, and surround yourself with good people. It is just all about people, especially when you're a charity. And when you're doing everything bootstrapped, you can't afford to pay consultants or whatever. You need to gather good people around you. And I think not only for support, but also just to avoid some of the hurdles that can take ages to get over, so that you can do it as kind of smoothly as possible. It's never going to be smooth, but as smoothly as possible. Not being afraid to ask.
You must have been working long hours, because I imagine if you still had your practice, which was very busy.
Yeah.
At what point did you give up the practice and start working full time on Gympanzees, or do you still have it?
No. So when I had the idea, it took about 3 or 4 months before I thought, okay, I'm definitely going to do this. And then I cut down to three long days a week. And then over the next kind of 4 years, cut it down, which was really hard to say goodbye to my clients, because some of them you see them regularly, some of them you just see for a few weeks, but a lot of them you see regularly. But when we bought the site, it was like, well, this is, I've got to put everything into this. As you say, it's a lot of hours, and I needed every minute for Gympanzees, and the families get it. They've all been part of the journey. My clients were the first people that we talked to about this, and they helped form it. So they're, fully behind me giving up physio. It's sad, but.
Is this in demand, children's physio? Do we need more of them?
Oh my goodness, yeah. So much. I think I had 2 clients in, how long was I doing private? About 10 years, really. I had 2 clients that I couldn't make them any better. The rest all improved. And, if you're a mother and your child, you can help your child have a better quality of life, or develop skills, then you'll do whatever you can to do that. So regular therapy makes such a huge difference. If you're only having therapy once every 3 months or once every 6 months, which unfortunately is the case in some places, it's like going to the gym once every 3 months. Like, you're not going to make any difference. But if you're seeing children regularly, oh my God, they just do. I had children coming to me who their wish was to be able to keep their trunk control, so be able to keep sitting and be able to just do a sit to stand motion. And then we get them walking, and that wasn't even they never thought that was possible.
So we've arrived at the third moment on your journey with Gympanzees so far, which is to recount an experience, if you will, that has given you a glimpse of the future, a sort of vision of where your work could lead. So is there a person or experience that has kind of given you this glimpse of the future?
Yeah, there's an amazing young man. Let's call him T. And he came to me when I was doing physio. So he was one of the people that I interviewed right at the beginning, where I interviewed his mum, and she said, nah, he's not going to be interested. He wants to be in mainstream world. He's very, very bright young man, but full-time wheelchair user. He doesn't want to go somewhere where just disabled people go. So that's absolutely fine. And then when we opened the first pop-up, he came and he spent the whole time in the gym and absolutely loved the gym. And he'd never had the confidence to go into a mainstream gym. He didn't want people looking at him, and he didn't kind of know what to do with the machines, etc. Anyway, then he met one of our personal trainers and then started going to the gym. He now goes to a mainstream gym on his own. So that was part of his journey, which was amazing. But then he also, as we were doing physio, every time I came in, he would ask about Gympanzees, and he would advise. He was doing politics at school. He'd advise which politicians to talk to, and he was so super bright. And then he started volunteering at the pop-ups, and he would volunteer in the cafe or in reception, and was just absolutely brilliant, and everyone loved him. And then he started volunteering with us at Gympanzees and doing admin when he left university, and he's just got his first job actually in another charity doing admin for them. And it's just the journey, the positive journey that he's been through. He's done speeches for us. He's done other kind of marketing stuff for us. He is an absolute advocate for what we're doing, but also as a recipient of the benefits. And if that's one person and the amount we can change his life, when we're having 200,000 visitors a year, it's really exciting to think about.
In terms of the future, your hope is to replicate this centre across the UK, right?
Yeah, so another 12. We think there's another 12 around the UK, so that every child is within an hour. Because every child with a disability should be accessing exercise and play and social stuff like meeting others, etc. So yeah, another 12 is the plan.
Amazing. Steph, thanks for joining us. And a special thanks to our sponsor, Triodos Bank. We'll see you all next time.